I do love this club to bits, and people might think otherwise, because I'm moving on. But when the games start coming around and people see, the passion that I've still got for the club in the way I'm playing, then hopefully they believe what I'm saying.
It's been a privilege to play with Sam for 2 years, and we're living together at the moment. So I get the opportunity to see a world-class athlete close up,
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about it for a long time that maybe it was a time for me to try something else. I grew up as a rugby union player, always wondered whether I would have made it in that code, so it was something that I was starting to explore. Yeah, I was living with Sam at the time, and he was looking to go to union too, but we hadn't spoke about it. One day my agent rings me and says, "Mate, have you told someone?" I said, "No, I haven't told anyone." He said, "Well, there's an article that says a forward from South Sydney is looking at rugby union." And I said, "Well, I haven't told anyone, so it can't be me."
After this, it's done and dusted for me. I'm just going to put it behind me, concentrate on my final year at the Bunnies.
I was upset, I'm not going to lie. I remember when he first told me he was leaving England to go to South Sydney. I was a young kid, 16 years old, and just lost our dad, so I was very emotional. Sammy was like the father figure for me, and felt like I was losing that again.
Far out, Sammy. Just moved to Australia. I wanted to be near my brothers again, and we were having such a good time, such a fun time. And
I broke down. And then Madge pulled me in, "You're right," and I bawled my eyes out. I went and caught up with the boys, had dinner with them. Sam dropped me off home, and I just spoke to him about it. Then he goes, "Yeah, my dad wanted to be an English rugby player. I think it's my time." Once he announced he was leaving, all of his whole focus was just about winning. He was like, "Nah, we'll go into the GF, we're gonna win."
If we want to do something this year, this is it now.
We're all playing together, and we had this opportunity to do something special. It definitely spurred us on for the following year. It's now or never.
The proud Rabbitoh himself, the local junior who has waited so long for this moment. That's history. Te'o is over. He's gone through the air like Superman. Unstoppable.
It's a fantastic story for many people.
Let's do this.
It wasn't really about, making big sweeping changes. It was, we had a few personnel changes.
Lote crashes over. Away from the scrum base. They found Tuqiri down the left side. To the short side, a little kick. Yes! Lote Tuqiri.
Yeah, I went to the Tigers in 2010 to 13. I went and played rugby in Ireland for a few months. Madge had been chasing me from the end of that year. Well, I was at the end of my career. My body probably wasn't up to a crazy big pre-season. Anything before Christmas, you're just running 6 days a week and you're just getting flogged. I pushed Madge off for a bit and said to him, "Mate, I'm still in Ireland, I'm still playing rugby." But I had come back a little bit earlier. I was in Brisbane. So he just went off to blow for a little bit because I knew once I'm back, I'm straight in.
I chased him around the world to try and get him back, and it took a little bit.
I felt like when I left the Tigers, I was injured, I didn't really play that much. I wanted to leave on my terms, and Madge gave me that out. I was happy to, not be compensated as much as I had been in the past, and it was tough.
He was the funniest bloke coming into pre-season late. I felt so sorry for him. The fitness, he just didn't really have it.
It was on the Friday, and I texted him on the Sunday, and I said, mate, how you travelling? I think he'd had 2 massages, and he was going back for another sleep. But he said, I'll be there on Monday. I went, you beauty, he's coming back, because I thought he probably decided it might be it.
Madge wanted a bit of that old head experience for a player that's been around, done that, knows what's needed at the right time.
He'd been around forever. He'd won a comp at Broncos. He played for Australia, played Origin. He was proven. We knew that when it comes to it, he's going to get his job done.
And he was able to drop everything that he had previously and just blend in with the boys. He's not wrong. He was always helping the younger generation coming through. He was always out there, last one off the field, helping them.
He had a real connection with the younger ones, and he sort of nurtured that group because he knew how crucial they were to build the success of where we were going.
They were a chance to do something. Here's an old bloke trying to get on the back of that. What better chance for me to help out a team that's knocking on the door.
Now Inglis with a bit of room out to Tuqiri. Lote defying father time, 34 years young.
It's a great club, it's got a great culture here, it's got a really good team, so can't wait for the season to start.
They went back to that bloody camp, Holdsworthy.
And everyone was terrified, of course.
GI, Sammy and myself were in camp on tour, and they had put us on the beds, our face, and got a dummy on the bed. The boys had to carry them around.
Remember, when you pick it up, keep the back straight so you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, it was tough. I think it was 40 degrees one day, and we carried the torsion bars and did this big hike carrying the boys on our stretchers, and we just went for the whole day basically for one of the days, and that was ridiculous. And then we got woken up at night, did the lanes they call it. Basically they just flog you. When I was walking to the lanes, there was guys in the back of ambulances with IV drips in them and stuff, and I'm just like, what's going on here? And they put me in a cell, and you're just thinking, what are they gonna do? There's tear gas coming or something, you're ready to go. And the guy just comes, he goes, opens the door, all right, follow me. And you walk into the room, the lanes, and you just get absolutely flogged until you pass out.
Don't fucking be popping out of the bushes, putting that fucking thing in your face, alright? Walking here trying to get these wounded soldiers back. You don't need any strapping or anything? Fuck.
I don't like army camps, no. I try and start it with a positive attitude, but it can go downhill very quick from there. So as soon as the bus is driving down to the army base and it pulls up 200 metres short of the base, and some little angry army guy gets on and starts screaming at everyone to get their bags and get off the bus, that's when I start to lose it.
I think we were doing burpees or something, and he was just like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Te'o's rolling around trying to flip a tyre, and they're going, go faster. And he goes, I'm not doing my fucking back for you.
He was like, why am I even here? I don't want to even be here. I let him like rugby league and just crap like that.
There was a lot of times during that army camp he said, fuck this, I'm going home.
Well, he was our captain in the small groups that we had, so I think we had 3 or 4 different groups.
So those 4 leaders went out to the army bloke who was running the session, got instructions for what we had to do. He gave the instructions to the leaders go back to their groups and get given the instructions for the next day, whatever has to be done. Sammy goes back to his group, they all huddle around, get told all the information. Greggy does the same, Reno does the same.
The army guys took him away and told him what we had to do. And our group's just waiting there with their backpacks.
And then Te'o's come back down, and we're all laying down on the army bed. And then Jace Clark was in our team. And
we're all laying down in a line, and Te'o goes to his bed that's at the front, just gets in, tucks himself under his sleeping bag and just goes to sleep. All the other boys are in their huddles.
Clarkie goes, Te'o, what are we doing, mate? And he goes, calm down, Clarkie, it's not a real war. I'm like, fuck, nah, tell us, like, come on, we're all trying to get better.
The rest of us was like, oh, we've got to do this without him. I think Madge was like, come on, Te'o, we need you. It's not going to be that hard, come on, mate, we need you to be a leader. And
he's a different cat, that bloke. I wouldn't take it to Afghanistan and he'd run away.
I try my best to be positive for the team, but yeah, it wears me down.
Smile for the camera if you can. Yeah.
Woke us up at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, something like that, and we went and did this 3.5-hour pool session. And all the boys had got there and we were terrified. And they ended up getting 2 bins, and they put a bin at one side of the pool and a bin at the other. Just threw a ball in and said, "Righto boys, pool basketball." We played some paintball, we did some rappelling out of buildings. Since then, I've always said, you don't need to do the hard, ridiculous army camp. Do the fun one, do the easy one. That'll bond the boys just as much as anything.
The one thing that we started to look at a little bit differently was just the mental side of the game.
We got a call from one of the board members about a company who had done some meditation work. I was a little bit sceptical, to say the least. Everybody was approaching it with, you know, the next big thing that was going to help you win a competition, you know, whether it was, you know, some sort of sports science technology, meditation. We met with the company and they had 2 directors at the time. Sam was very heavily based in the neuroscience. She talked about brain activity and the different sort of zones that the players were going to work through. And then Derek was sort of more of the traditional, when you think about the yoga and the meditation, and more the alternative type medicine as well.
Mindfulness stuff, it's huge now, right? Every team probably does it weekly, daily, whatever. Back then it was not really a thing. Like Madge would bring these people from like maybe Byron Bay, like you'd find in Byron Bay, into the club, and everyone's going like, what is going on here?
I brought them in, and I remember the first day, I think I had 3 or 4 of my senior players walk in and say, "Madge, what the hell was that?"
I wasn't really a big fan of it, so I'd open the eyes, look around.
I don't know what effect that had on anyone, but...
My first one, I actually fell asleep. I went to sleep.
That was cool. I didn't mind all that stuff. You know, if the boys buy in, we all buy in together, that's what matters.
You know, fortunately or unfortunately, you guys need super high trained minds to stay present, more than what most people will ever need in their whole lives. Meditation is easy once you've understood breathing changes, and focusing on the breath, breathing as slowly as you can, breathing out.
It started to grow on the players around being able to understand how we can use our minds at a higher level.
All through pre-season, we meditated together. All through the year, every week.
It was a big part of my game that year, like being centred and being calm, bringing myself back to the present.
We used to do it on the bus before we go to the game. Just some of us were just, for me, I used to try and go out early, real early, figure out where I'm going to be the most dominant on the field. So I'd sit out halfway and look around, visualise it. They drew this graph of a line, and this is an energy level, this is what it looks like.
I think they call them a Richter scale. So, you know, when a needle goes really high, sometimes you're too into the red, and when it's too low, you're too sort of mellowed out. So the middle line is where you're the calmest, you're in flow, you're in a good state. It was a sign for everyone to be calm, work in the now, and understand that we're all on the same page again.
When it was flat like this, I think it was Te'o saying that, sometimes that can be deflating or not as excited because we're just thinking flat. So he come up with this idea as a mental movement. Let's just have a gradient line increasing so it feels like we keep going up.
Yeah, that was the sign. That was the sign. We score a try, we're all high, we're jumping over each other and hugging and high-fiving. Come back to that level. We get scored against, a couple of errors, come back.
It was more like here, but then it changed to
there. You might drop a bit.
Oh yeah, do all this.
See a lot of boys go like that.
And from when we started to by the time we ended the season, I remember the players doing a group meditation session in our team room for the whole team to be able to sit there and be quiet and be in the moment for the period of time that they were, I thought was a real indication of how far they'd come as a group.
By the time we got to big games, I felt like we were one.
Hey, we're on the straight line, boys. That's the thought that. And I think that's a good tool for us, and also obviously for Sato. Our certain players and all that sort of stuff.
Obviously, my time down in Melbourne, I was fascinated with the high altitude training, so I got to know Mick Malthouse quite well.
There was a big trend of taking AFL players over to altitude and training at altitude to try and accelerate some aerobic changes.
I actually got Mick to come up and present to the board about this altitude and altitude training, and the next step was taking a few players across to Arizona.
We were fortunate enough to work with the Gold Coast Suns who were over there at the time and had been on a couple of trips, so we leaned on them a little bit to get some information, and we actually took Lote Tuqiri, Dylan Walker and Adam Reynolds to Arizona.
The goal of the trip was just to go over, get fit, come back a bit mentally stronger than what we left, and then obviously a bit of leadership stuff as well. Gary Ablett Jr. was the captain, and I think he'd just come off a Brownlow that year, so to spend time with the likes of him, Cam Brown and Stephen May at the time was there.
Learn a heap of leadership stuff from those older players at the Suns, and then obviously work ethic and training and things like that. We got a close look at how those guys do it, which was cool.
They're different type of athletes, man. They can just run, and it was just pure base running too. It wasn't even, we didn't get a football, we didn't touch a football. It was just pure running.
Like a typical rugby league team, like a big sessions between 8 and 10 Ks, right? These AFL guys are doing like between 10 and 15K sessions, so they don't lift as heavy weights. So we're doing our own weight program, but we're running with them, so we're just doing these massive days.
Me and Renault's duck ass was waddling around, and we have our jokes. I'm like, fuck, I'm a power athlete, not a long distance runner. We climbed a mountain.
We went up and it wasn't snowing. We thought it'd start snowing throughout the day, so it's something that the Gold Coast Suns did for a couple of years prior to that. They'd always reach the saddle, but not the summit, and we'd spent about 4 or 5 hours trying to trek up this mountain to get to the saddle, and we finally got there, and as we got there, we got caught in a bit of a snowstorm. People leading it at the time was telling us it was unsafe, and we should turn around, head back, and go back down the hill. Campbell Brown, he'd been there 3 or 4 years. He's pretty much had enough and said that he wanted to get to the top, and I sort of poked the bear a little bit there. I said, mate, come on, league players aren't this soft, so let's get to the top.
They just charged me, nah, we've fucking been here for the last 2 years, we're charging forward, we're gonna have to stick close.
We set off for the top. It was only about 250 metres, but it felt like it was 2.5 kilometres.
You're slipping on black ice, falling over.
We'd finally reached the top, and you could barely see anyone or hear anyone. It was blowing a gale up there, and it was like minus 20, minus 30 degrees.
And then I went over about 4 or 5 days later, and I could just see how a team going over there, being together and doing something unique, but training at those levels is going to build a belief within the group. So
we became really close. Myself, Reno and Dill, like we were obviously living together for that 3 weeks. We were close before that anyway, but
Dill likes a lot of things, Kiri doesn't like a lot of things. I liked the aircon on, he liked it off. He liked the light on, I liked it off. Complete opposites, but yeah, it was good from that point of view to obviously grow the bond and the friendship, which would, continually grow over the next couple of years.
You knew you had that work, you had that base under you, which led us into that season. I've never been fitter in my life.
I think my first run when I come back, we were at Maroubra doing Broome Street. I took off on the first lap and it was flying.
I do remember them all being like super fit, super fast and really strong, so I couldn't have been happier with that.
What makes the Rabbitohs the real deal at the Auckland Nines?
We've got plenty of speed out wide. We've brought over a couple of young superstars. We've got some big agile back rows, myself, John Sutton. So, look, we've all been given the licence to play some entertaining football and entertain this crowd.
Here we go.
The Nines comp, it was a great concept for the fact that we all got together over in New Zealand, bringing a lot of talent together and being able to showcase it in a different way, a different form of rugby league.
Tigers, Sharks, first up winners earlier today. Another try coming, bounce it up for Kiri.
Trained at 6, basically that whole pre-season. Sato was training at left back row, so it was kind of like that transition was about to happen, and then I was so excited for it. Obviously the Arizona stuff, we were kind of ready to kind of roll out.
With Kiri over the top. Kiri has sent his man Dylan Walker. What a bounce for Dylan Walker.
I was playing like a full-back role. I don't know how Nines were. I never played another game of Nines in my life, but Regan Campbell-Gillard made a break.
Panthers on the attack. Look at Campbell-Gillard.
front door of the Rabbitohs defence. What a try by Campbell Gillard. I'm worried here about Lote Tuqiri. He's been left on the ground. He's clutching what looks to be round the pec area. This could be a serious injury for the Rabbitohs.
I remember him in the sheds when we sort of knew that he'd torn his pec and he was in tears.
It was sort of a flat feeling when it happened because I was back home. I remember how hard he'd worked to sort of get himself in that situation and to be given a chance to play 5'8".
Mate, I was gutted because I actually felt that he was another piece that you can add to where we were going that was going to be the difference in us winning a comp.
It's devastating because at the time you're young fella, you think your season's over. I just thought, right, I've got to get back into reserve grade when I get back, get some confidence, some form under my belt, and then probably try again next pre-season.
South Sydney captain. Memories probably at the back of the mind, or maybe at the forefront, of getting to a preliminary final. That's the grand final entry, 2 years in a row, 12 and 13 to bow out.
Doing all the pre-season, do all the work and going into another year knowing what happened previous 2 years, you just want to start off on the right foot. Your players are fit, our squad was fit.
The round 26 game 2013 was the battle for the minor premiership, which was the biggest attendance for a round game in history.
We felt like we were the team to beat and they unfortunately went on to win the grand final. So the build-up throughout that week was huge.
And you can definitely feel it when you're playing. Obviously there's a lot of chirp from the fans.
Mate, I just go there and just play.
Getting it out to bounce. Inglis is with the ball. Inglis for the line. Wow. Luke to the right side for Tyrrell. Now for Reynolds. Then for Te'o. Back for Inglis. He's over for number 2. A big smile on the face. Now it goes from Luke back for Inglis to get 3. Greg Inglis has got the treble. They storm in from all over the place. And South Sydney have scored a resounding victory.
We knew it was a good start and it was just round 1.
I thought we executed that game plan probably better than we did any other game the year before, and it's obviously a good game to set us up for what was to come.
South winning 28-8. Straight after this break, the VB hard-earned man of the match, and then we go to the footy show for their 21st season of fun. Back in a moment.
Previous year, we had started really stamping our authority on the NRL again, so a lot of teams were aiming up against us.
Oh! Enormous clash of bodies here, and Greg Inglis is on the receiving end.
That Canberra game, yeah, we got dished.
A long ball to an unmarked Reece Robinson, who crosses in the corner.
And at half-time, it was probably the first time since being at the club we actually got booed off.
We watched the footage. We saw how the players didn't get around each other after they made an error.
We just had to grow as a group and just be tight.
The confidence is still there. We have a good squad, a good coach.
There is the great Bob McCarthy wishing him well as he hits the field here tonight.
So when it came around to Saturday's time, I couldn't be more happier than to be at one club, South Sydney Junior, who just bled red and green.
Seeing some of your Instagram videos, you love your rapping. You want to drop any verses for us?
Oh yeah, I love a bit of Kanye West.
Yeah.
Do you want a bit of Kanye West or?
His new album was his new album was atrocious. It was painful, but I know you like it. I know you like to spit some verses. Can I get a drop?
Oh, I made a one up about UK. I'll say.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I've heard this one.
All right, I'll go. I want to hear more about the Union Jack, the cross of St. Andrew, St. George, St. Pat.
Yeah, that's it. Big Tommy B.